What's up, guys? We're back with another video, and today we're going to talk about Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. Now, we've got Conquest starting back up in a couple of days, and I have luckily managed to get the max hard node crate every time that we've done it. So today I just wanted to make a video and share some of my experiences on what I've done with my roster, some of the data discs I've got, consumables, just all of those things. We're going to talk Conquest today. We're going to talk about how you might consider using some of your teams, what teams you might use with some data discs, all that fun stuff, so hopefully you will maximize your Conquest experience and hopefully get some of those best reward crates, because, you know, got to get those cat shards, right? Now, I will say that Conquest is a very subjective experience, right? It depends very much on what your roster is as to what data discs are going to be best for you, what you're going to get a lot of use out of. So I might either A, talk about things that don't apply to your roster, which is fine, or B, I might omit things that might work well for your roster that I didn't use because I don't have those characters. For example, I don't have Imperial Troopers, I don't have Rey, I don't have Resistance, I don't have a lot of teams, so I won't have all of the answers. So really, this is the official ranking system of some guy on the internet. So really, there are two ways to respond to this. One, hop in the comments and let everyone know kind of what works for you. Share your feedback. Just let everyone know what data discs you liked. If you had any disagreements with me, why did you disagree? Kind of how have you seen that work where I didn't? This is the internet and this is YouTube, though. We don't do that here. What I really expect from you, if you disagree with me, please drop a dislike, get down in the comments and tell me how worthless I am. That's what YouTube is for, so that I can have the pleasure of going on there and saying, I don't care. So yeah, you have two options. I believe that you guys will pick the best one. Now, before we get started, let's have a word from our sponsor. I'm just kidding. We don't have a sponsor. Let's go. Let's get the video going. Unfortunately, I don't have any Conquest footage, and I don't really have any footage of myself playing around with data discs, just because, as you know, we have to save those precious key cards so that we can get those cat shards from the store. So unfortunately, I don't have any footage of that. So just so you don't have to sit here and look at big chat all day, I am just going to have some GAC footage going in the background, so you have something to maybe entertain you while you listen to me drone on. So let's go ahead and start up. The first thing we're going to do is I have a list of every single data disc in Conquest. We're going to go through very quickly and just rank them all. I'm going to give you just a very quick summary of why I give it such a rating. Please, again, let me know in the comments what you think. If you've had other experiences, let me know. But we're just going to go through. I have a list. I will put the link down in the comments below. This is from swgh.help. They have a list of every Conquest data disc. So if you're not familiar with what all is out there, you can go look on there as well. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so first one we have is Massively Overpowered. That one, I'm going to say S tier. I'm going to say S tier on Massively Overpowered. This one's very nice, especially, so Massively Overpowered, every time you get 10 buffs, every time a character gets 10 buffs, they are going to, the next ability they use, whether or not it's a damage dealing ability, is going to deal massive damage to the target. Very nice, especially if you pair that with some other data discs. We're going to talk about interactions a little bit later on in the video. It's very nice. So, I mean, where else are you going to find C-3PO actually actively doing damage? So, Massively Overpowered, very nice. I very much enjoy it. I haven't gotten it in a while. Since the very first Conquest, I haven't gotten Massively Overpowered, but I have gotten it. Super fun data disc, S tier. Next one up is Future Vision. I'm going to give this one probably a... What's up, guys? Future Chad here. So, I ranked Future Vision, and the more that I thought about it, I'm going back on this one. I'm sorry. Future Vision, whenever you gain 10 buffs, you gain Foresight. Honestly, D tier. Like, I had put it as a B tier because it's nice, because it can help you with, like, your evasion feats, but honestly, like, the teams that are giving you buffs, like Grandmaster Yoda, you're already getting Foresight. Hermit Yoda, you're given Foresight. It might be nice for, like, a Padme team, but otherwise, I don't see it. I'm going back on it. I'm gonna say Future Vision, D tier. All right, next one up we're going to talk about is Dread, and this is going to be an S tier. I unfortunately, this is not in the game right now. I have to imagine they'll probably bring it back at some point. I know they're swapping out data discs, so assuming it comes back at some point, I'm going to give this one an S tier. I've never actually gotten it either, but it just sounds super cool. At the start of each allied enemy's turn, they inflict fear and plague on a random enemies for 2 turns. When fear expires, that enemy takes 25% max health damage, and if an enemy is below 50% health, they just die. So that's pretty cool. That speaks for itself. I'm gonna say S tier. That sounds pretty cool. All right, here we go. This is my personal favorite data disc. S+ tier goes to Deadly Momentum. This is a phenomenal data disc. We're gonna talk about some of the different ways. One of the problems you're gonna have potentially with Deadly Momentum is killing off teams too fast to get all of the feats. If you are at a point where you are struggling to win battles because your teams are just not strong enough, Deadly Momentum. As long as you have the speed to actually get to take a turn and you're not just getting, like, destroyed before you even get to take a turn. Deadly momentum is huge. We're going to talk more about it, but you're going to have 30% shield penetration, which shield is the same thing as protection. So you're going to ignore, some of your things are going to ignore protection. Nice. You're going to gain 30% offense when an enemy falls below 100% health, which means because you're ignoring protection, you instantly get the 30% offense. That's super nice. But then here's the kicker. Data discs that trigger on enemies falling below 100% health, which there are a lot of those, also trigger at 70% and 40%. It's huge. That is huge. We'll talk later about how I use it, about the other data discs I use, but Deadly Momentum, S+ tier, phenomenal. All right, next we have Booming Voice. That's whenever an allied leader uses an ability, they call all of their allies to assist, S tier. That one is very nice. Again, it's very nice whenever you're struggling. This also adds, we'll talk about this a little later, some theory crafting that you can do. Booming Voice has some fun stuff you can do. So I'm gonna say Booming Voice, S tier as well. All right, we're finally done with the 4-dot ones. Now we're down to 3 dots, and now we've got Perseverance. This one, I'm gonna say A tier. Allied units call themselves to assist whenever they use an ability during their turn, but all damage they deal is reduced by 30%, limit once per turn. Definitely still nice. I'm gonna knock it down to A tier though, because it's kind of like, it sounds like Booming Voice, but it's not Booming Voice. So I'm just gonna call it, we're gonna call it A tier. We're gonna say A tier on that one. All right, the next one comes in different numbers of dots depending on how good of one you get. Leaders Resolved. I'm gonna say C tier on this one. And the reason behind that is you wanna be 3-starring your battles, right? Leaders Resolve is only buffing a single character. Now granted, sometimes buffing your leader is going to be really good and it's going to support your characters, but for the most part, you're really only helping out one character, which is good for that one character, but the rest of your team isn't getting a whole lot from that. So potentially you could be running into where, especially if you got like a 3-dot one, some of your other characters are dying off. Your leader's super strong. Your other characters not so much. They die off. You don't get those 3 stars. I personally prefer the data discs that benefit my entire team to some capacity. So I'm gonna say Leaders Resolve, C tier on Leaders Resolve. Next one up, we have Zealous Ambition. Again, C tier. Allied healers gain offense equal to 44.2% of their max health or whatever it is, depending on how many ticks you get. It's okay. Your healers still aren't going to be dealing a ton of damage probably. So it's okay. C tier, it's fine. Now for Volatile Hyperaccelerator, whenever you deal damage to an enemy, they gain 5% speed, and then each time they take a turn, they take 10% max health damage. I've thought about this one. Honestly, I'm gonna say D tier, because if the team's got health regeneration or something going on, that's going to kind of potentially negate it. It's not going to affect, First Order like Kylo Ren Unmasked, Malik, Galactic Legends it's not going to help with. Plus you're giving them speed, which kind of sucks for you. I mean, they're going to take more turns to take more damage, but I think they're going to kill you off. Yeah, I'm going to say D tier on this one. All right, Vitality. Allied units gain X number % of max health and X number % of max protection. We'll say C tier. That's not really... it's fine. It does what it does. All right, Stacking Offense, A tier on this one. We're going A tier on Stacking Offense. Now this one by itself, it's good. Like by itself, I'm gonna give it an A tier. If you use it with some interactions, I think you're definitely potentially looking at S tier with Stacking Offense. You can really start to get some pretty crazy offense depending on what team you use and what other data discs you use with it. Again, we'll talk about interactions a little bit later. So I'm going to, just on its own, Stacking Offense, I'm gonna say A tier. That's a pretty nice disc. All right, next one up is Power. Allied units are gonna gain 20% offense and 17% critical damage. C tier again. You're getting what you're getting. C tier. All right, next one, offensive buffs. Allied units gain offense up, critical damage up, and critical chance up for 1 turn at the start of each of their turns. A tier, 100% A tier. Again, this is another one, depending on interactions, this could also be S tier. Very nice. So offensive buffs, gonna give that one an A tier. Next one up is health recovery. Whenever an ally gains a buff, they also recover 7% health. I'm gonna say B tier on this one, just because what I've kind of found is either I'm usually finishing battles at full health or they're dead. There's just usually they usually just either stomp me or I stomp them. There's usually not a lot of close quarters. If you're having a lot of super close battles where you need the health recovery, then I could see why you might rank it as an A tier. For me, I'm gonna say B tier. Like, it's definitely nice to have, the healing's nice, but if you combined it with other ones, maybe A tier. I'm sticking with it. I said B tier, I'm sticking with B tier on health recovery. Next one up is defensive buffs. That's just like offensive buffs, except for defense. Again, A tier. You have it with the right stuff. S tier, but I'm going to stick with A tier. Allied units gain crit hit immunity, tenacity up, defense up for 1 turn at the start of each of their turns. Very nice. A tier. Next, we have Debuff Dismantler. Whenever an allied unit gains a buff, they have a 30% chance to dispel all debuffs on themselves and gain 15% mastery. It sounds nice, but I don't know that it's super practical. I've used it a few times and I haven't noticed it really helping me a whole lot. I'm gonna go ahead and say this one's a C tier. I just haven't gotten personally a lot of value out of this. If you have, please let everyone know in the comments what team comp you used. Where did you see it used? For me personally, I'm gonna say C tier. Personally, I don't really go out of my way to pick this one up. C tier. Next, we have Amplify Agony. Whenever an ally inflicts a debuff on an enemy, they also deal 6.63% or whatever percent max health damage to that enemy. That's pretty nice, especially because you have a lot of, almost all of your dark side teams are going to be inflicting a lot of debuffs. I'm thinking, Emperor Palpatine with Bastila Shan Fallen. You've got some of your Bounty Hunter teams, Night Sister teams. You got a lot of teams that are going to inflict a lot of debuffs. So this works very nice with those. I'm going to say I'm between B tier and A tier on this one. I'm going to say B tier. I'm gonna say B tier on this one. I'm struggling. I could definitely give this an A tier. I'm gonna stick with B tier though. This is still, either way, B is still a good disc, but this is a good disc. I definitely would grab this one if there's nothing from a higher tier. Turn meter. When an ally gains a buff, they gain 3.3% turn meter. It's a very good one. This is very nice. I'm going to say B tier. It's very good, don't get me wrong, but there are ones that are better. So I'm going to say B tier, but still good. Like, I would still take this data disc, but I'm gonna say B tier. All right, now we're getting one of my favorite ones. Ruthless Swiftness. When an enemy falls below 100% health, all allies gain 20 whatever percent turn meter. I'm gonna say S tier on this one, honestly. One could say that like it's an A tier and it gets bumped up to S tier. Whenever it's with interaction with other data discs, I'm just gonna say straight up S tier. This one is very nice to have. If you paid attention, you already know where I'm going to interact with this one, but, Ruthless Swiftness as a whole, very good data disc. So yeah, I'm going to say S tier. I'm going to say S tier on Ruthless Swiftness. All right. So next we have Ruthless Offense. The offense isn't necessarily as big of a thing as the turn meter. I'm going to say on Ruthless Offense, it does the same thing as Ruthless Swiftness. Whenever they fall below 100% turn meter or below 100% health, you gain offense. I'm going to say this one is an A tier, but when it interacts with the right ones, it goes up to easily S tier. I think it's not quite as good as Ruthless Swiftness, but it's still very good. So solid A tier, potentially S tier. All right, so another one we have is Heal Over Time. I'm gonna say C tier on this one. Getting the 2 effects of Heal Over Time for 2 turns, it's okay. It can be used with other ones, again, interactions we'll talk about in a second, that could bump it up to like say A tier, but I'm gonna say C tier on this one. Next we have Protection Recovery, and I'm gonna say similar to Health Recovery, B tier. Maybe I might find this one a little bit more helpful because once you get down to health, you're probably in a little bit more trouble. Allowing the protection to come back, I'm gonna stick with B tier though. I'm gonna say B tier for Protection Recovery. It's okay. All right, next one, Ruthless Debilitation, S tier. I love Ruthless Debilitation. When an enemy falls below 100% health, they are inflicted with healing immunity and 2 stacks of armor shred, which can't be dispelled or resisted. So nice. I will explain why I love this so much, but Ruthless Debilitation, S tier. I love this disc. That's what it's called. Next one up is Quickening. Allied units gain a 6.5% or whatever percent. I'm looking at a list. Speed boost and a % evasion boost. C tier. The speed boost is really nice. The evasion is nice because you do have ones where you have to evade. However, basing it on evasion is not what I would do. I would foresight to evade to get those feats, not evasion. It's okay. C tier. It's fine. All right. Potency Calibration. This one's going to be unique. I'm going to say on Potency Calibration, whenever an enemy resists a debuff, all allies gain 27% potency or whatever percent potency, depending on how many ticks it is. I'm going to say that this one is a C tier, but if it's combined with the right other data discs, S tier. Like, there's no in between. Either you super don't need this or it's really, really nice to have. And I'll explain why in a little while, but I'm going to say right now I'm giving it a C tier but I acknowledge that in the right scenarios, this can be S tier. This can actually be super huge. Insatiable, allies gain 11% health steal and 11% or whatever percent. I'm gonna quit saying that. If I say a percent, just know it's probably a different percent depending on how many ticks it is. But a percentage of health steal and defense penetration. C tier, it's fine. Entrenched, at the start of battle, allies gain protection up equal to X%. C tier, it's okay. Yeah, it's fine. It's kind of nice to have. It's fine. All right, the granddaddy. This is the one that everyone loves. I'm gonna say deployable cooling system, S tier, easily S tier. Deployable cooling systems, RIP, it's not here right now, but deployable cooling systems, S tier, super fun. Whenever an allied unit gains a buff, there's a 15% chance that all their cooldowns will be reduced by 1, S tier, 100%. Hopefully it comes back someday. Next one, Decay turn meter. Whenever an ally deals damage to an enemy, that enemy loses a percentage of turn meter. This one I'm going to say is very similar to the potency one, and you're gonna see why I said the other one earlier. I'm gonna say for this one, again, C tier, with the right interactions, S tier. It, again, one or the other. On its own, by itself, I'm going to say C tier. But with the right other data discs, it can move up to potentially A and S tier. Convor's agility. Allies gain evasion and they get turn meter whenever they evade. Welcome to your RNG fist. Hello, Darth Maul and Old Ben Lead. It's fine. C tier. I mean, it's nice, I guess. I don't want to rely on that level of RNG. C tier. I'm just going to call it C tier. All right, Caustic Emissions, F tier. I'm gonna give this one an F tier. I'm sorry. If you think I'm wrong, please tell me how you got this to work or how you found this valuable, because I super don't. Giving this an F tier. Enemy units gain 2 damage over time effects, and okay, the burning, I guess, is kind of nice on the top one. For 2 turns at the start of the turn, which can't be resisted. See, and here's why, maybe I'm just a little, we're done, so I can explain now, right? This is why maybe I'm just a little salty about this one, because there is a, there's a feat, right, where you have to get like 300 dots on enemy characters, and I'm like, cool, I'm just gonna load up on Caustic Emissions, throw a whole bunch of them in there, bam, dots. Then I read the feat again, and it has to be a dot that they gain by an effect that, or by a move that you use, which, so Caustic Emissions doesn't count. Well, that super sucked, so I'm gonna say F tier. I'm gonna say maybe with, no, F tier. Tell me in the comments why you think a different way, but F tier on Caustic Emissions. I will probably never get this one again. All right, so next up I want to talk about just some combinations of different data discs and how some of them work very well together and how they can really amplify your team more than if you just use them individually. If you're aware of any combinations that I don't mention today, please let everyone know down in the comments, and also please mention what teams you use them with, just so that we all know kind of the strategy behind the combination that you're mentioning. So the first one's probably going to make sense. It's going to be massively overpowered. The first one we started with, whenever you gain buffs, if you get 10 buffs, you're going to deal, the next attack is going to deal massive damage. Pair that with offensive and defensive buffs, as well as heal over time, because heal over time is considered a buff. Once you're going to be getting that massively, you're going to be dealing that massive damage pretty quick if you have all of those. So that one's, those work very nicely together. Next one up, Future Vision. Again, very similar. Offense, defensive buffs, heal over time. Still not one of my favorites, but I mean, those at least, you know, they mesh. Okay. Granddaddy of them all. I've been waiting for this. I'm so excited for this one. Deadly Momentum, Ruthless Swiftness, Ruthless Offense, Ruthless Debilitation, and then if you want to throw in Power, man, this is a deadly combo, because remember, Deadly Momentum lets you bypass some of the protection, so instantly, any hit falling below 100% health, everything activates at 100% health, and then also activates at 70% and 40%. So you've got the X number turn meter gain at 100% health. You've got the offense gain. If you give them power, you already started with extra power, so then you're bumping off of that. There are some super nice things. Plus, with Ruthless Debilitation, when you hit someone, instantly healing immunity and armor shred. Instantly. First hit on someone, healing immunity, armor shred. Super nice. Honestly, if you use some of these together in tandem, you honestly might have trouble beating teams too quickly, and you may have to take it off because it's too easy. Like, you're not able to stick in the battle long enough to get, you know, your thermal detonators, to get your dots, because you're killing people off too fast. So just be wary of that, because these are great for just absolutely wrecking teams. All right, so the next one, it makes sense to use these together. Again, I don't know if I would actually do this, but Zealous Ambition and Vitality. If your healers are going to gain offense equal to a % of their max health, it makes sense to also buff their max health. Again, I don't know that I'm a huge fan of Zealous Ambition, so up to you, but they at least in theory sound like they work together. I haven't tried those out. So take that with a grain of salt. All right, next one, kind of similar to the Deadly Momentum. I would pair Power with Ruthless Offense, Stacking Offense, and then offensive or defensive buffs. Again, you're increasing your character's power just so that their baseline is already higher, and then you're going to start stacking your offense based on whether you're getting buffs or whether you're dropping people below 100% health. So a lot of different ways you can really start to up your power on your teams very quickly. So those would play together very nicely. Oh yeah, also throw in heal over time because those are buffs. Sure, let's go with that too. Again, we're gonna start seeing a theme here. Debuff Dismantler along with offensive, defensive buffs, and heal over time. Again, kind of makes sense. You get the buffs, you have a chance to remove all of your debuffs, gain your mastery. So again, this isn't one that I'm going to build like my data discs around. There's just a lot of RNG in that I don't really love, but it's a choice. They do mesh well together, so, you know, you do you. Next one, Health Recovery. I would pair that up with offensive buffs, defensive buffs, and heal over time. Huh, who saw that one coming? Because whenever you get buffs, you're gaining health, so it makes sense to kind of pair those together. Again, same thing with Protection Recovery. That doesn't need its own entry either. Protection Recovery, it's going to do the same thing. So pair all of those up together. You're going to be healing yourselves. Cool. It's not as fun, but I mean, I guess it is. It's practical, but it's not super exciting, but it does seem practical at least. Next one, again, Turn Meter plus offensive buffs. Defensive buffs, heal over time. You're gonna gain lots of turn meter. So yeah, it's pretty straightforward. Again, it's not a super exciting one. It's kind of practical, not super exciting. If you don't have any of the super exciting 4-dot or 3-dot ones, use those together. I mean, it's practical. Again, some of these aren't super flashy, like booming voice and stuff like that, but I mean, they have their uses. And sometimes there have been 2 conquests where I didn't get any 4-dot and I only got like 1 3-dot. All of them were 2-dot or 1-dot. So no super exciting discs, but if you use them together, they can still be very effective. So that's another one. It's practical at least. All right, so now I want to talk about the one where I said like some were either C tier or S tier. And I want to talk about this. This is kind of a niche one. Deployable cooling systems, which by the way works with like basically everything. Deployable cooling systems, pair that with offensive and defensive buffs regardless, because more buffs means more chance to reduce your cooldowns. It's great. Deployable cooling systems is awesome. RIP, hopefully it comes back someday. But a big one to also pair with deployable cooling systems is Potency Calibration and Decay Turn Meter. Why is that? Because there is a feat. I don't know if the feats are going to change, subject to change, but there have been the feats where you have to remove a certain amount of turn meter, right? And the problem is, that's one at least that I struggle with. That's, you know, if you've got a really nice Moff Gideon, really nice Jedi Training Rey, you know, there are characters that can do that, but on the whole, that seems to be one that a lot of people struggle with. If you don't, then ignore this. You can skip to the next piece of the video. I personally have kind of struggled with this one myself. So what's really nice, Yoda, Vader, someone like that, someone where you're constantly just getting to take turn after turn after turn after turn because of Master Stroke, because of Merciless Massacre and deployable cooling system. You're just allowing yourself to keep taking turns and never stopping. The problem with Decay Turn Meter is it can be resisted. So it's still a potency check. So it's not unresistible turn meter decay. However, whenever they resist it, because of potency calibration, you're gaining potency, which will allow you, as you keep using Master Stroke, Force Crush, Merciless Massacre, as you constantly are dealing damage, and if they're resisting, you know, if you have someone that's got super high tenacity and they're constantly resisting that turn meter decay, you are gaining potency. And so back whenever we had deployable cooling systems, that's actually how I got the turn meter removal, was I just had Master Yoda, gave him as much potency as I could just so he has a nice place to start off with, and then just Master Stroke. Spam Master Stroke over and over and over and over again. Potency goes up, they lose turn meter, voila, I have the feat. So that's one. By themselves, they don't really matter a whole lot, but pairing them with deployable cooling systems, they can help you achieve what I at least consider to be a decently hard feat to get. So that one, kind of cool to use. So the last thing I want to talk about are some of my different teams that I've used and what data discs really elevate different teams. Now, I mean, you've got your standard like counters like Palpatine and Sith are going to beat NIGHTSISTERS and stuff like that. But really, some of these data discs take teams to the next level, where they're really able to defeat teams that they should not be able to defeat. For example, I was able to use NIGHTSISTERS to defeat Jedi Master Luke. Like, there are some data discs that really do just elevate your teams to the next level. So we're going to close off with just me telling you about some of the teams that I use with data disc compositions that really just take them to the next level and allow them to do things that you wouldn't expect. If you have found any of these, please, once again, in the comments, let everyone know what you've done. Help everyone figure out what we need to do so that we can get match rewards in Conquest. So let's go for it. So the first one we're going to start off is what not to do, and that is anytime you're using Supreme Leader Kylo Ren, don't do one that gives you turn meter. Ruthless Swiftness, anything that gives you turn meter, make sure you're not using Kylo Ren on your team, because whenever you have Supreme Leader Kylo Ren with you, you're going to be losing max health, and you're going to lose it real fast. So there are situations where I did, because I was fairly confident I wasn't going to get hit, where I was going to be able to just sweep the team and not take any damage, but it's very iffy. So that's more of a what not to do. Again, anything where you're gaining turn meter, make sure just don't use Supreme Leader Kylo Ren with those teams, because you're going to hurt yourself probably more than you're going to help yourself. Next one up, Darth Revan with Bastila Fallen. This also works super well with like Emperor Palpatine with Bastila Fallen, Emperor Palpatine, Darth Vader, Bastila Fallen, and anything that's going to do a lot of debuffs. You're one that gives damage whenever you deal a debuff. Very nice. I mean, really, that's going to be true for like any Sith team. Just whenever you're dealing a lot of debuffs, the one that deals a lot of max health damage, what's that called? Amplify Agony. That's what it's called. So it's pretty nice. So that's one that I would use with Darth Revan. Padme Amidala. Very, very nice with Massively Overpowered, because the protection that you're going to get from her special ability counts as a buff. So it's going to be very, very easy for you to start getting the Massively Overpowered and start dealing massive damage. If you pair that again with defensive, offensive buffs, the heal over time, you can get C-3PO wiping out people just using Confuse. Like, it's pretty nice. So I would say Padme as well as Jedi Knight Revan, because of Grandmaster Yoda. Anything where you're getting a lot of buffs, Massively Overpowered works very nice. So Jedi Knight Revan, Padme, very nice for Massively Overpowered. Now, it should go without saying that like every team is going to work well with my Deadly Momentum kind of composition I told you about. But one that works very well that doesn't require Deadly Momentum but still does some really nice stuff, the NIGHTSISTERS. The NIGHTSISTERS, honestly, one of my favorite teams in Conquest because of Ruthless Debilitation, Ruthless Offense, Ruthless Swiftness, because Mother Talzin's AoE ignores protection. Anything that ignores any character, I'm not sure that I can think of them all off the top of my head, but any character that's able to ignore protection and deal damage straight to everything, Visa's Mar does too, you're going to activate all of those at once. Very, very nice. You're going to gain just a crap ton of turn meter, a crap ton of offense. Works very nice. If you have Deadly Momentum to give with this team, watch out. But what's really nice is the Ruthless Debilitation, because Mother Talzin opens up with her AoE, inflicts Plague on everyone, and then you have Plague, you have Healing Immunity, and you have Armor Shred. Armor Shred, you're dealing more damage. And wait, how is it that you remove Plague? Oh yeah, you heal back up to full health. Well, guess what? They got Healing Immunity. So NIGHTSISTERS with that combo work so well. I was able, like I said, the very first Conquest to take out a Jedi Master Luke team with this NIGHTSISTER team you're looking at right here. So NIGHTSISTERS with Ruthless Debilitation, I absolutely love it. There are other ones like Potency Calibration can kind of work pretty nice too to make sure you're landing Plague and stuff like that, but really, Ruthless Debilitation just really elevates NIGHTSISTER's next level team. Now, one that I haven't mentioned yet, but just remember, I'm sure that everyone remembers the deployable cooling system days, but just so you remember, deployable cooling systems with your offensive, defensive, heal over time, all of those buffs works very well with CLS. Works very well with CLS, but works very well with CLS, works very well with Jedi Knight Revan because of Grandmaster Yoda, works very well with Darth Revan, works very well with Darth Nihilus because he can basically just start one-shotting people and just annihilating over and over and over again. But yeah, deployable cooling systems, should it ever come back, CLS, just keep using Call to Action. And then Chewbacca, 3PO and Chewie, everyone just assisting all the time. You want to throw, man, if we got booming voice, we got, oh my God, I'm just thinking of all the things that we can do. This team could just wreck. Again, you got to be careful with some of these setups that you don't kill people off too quickly. I hear a lot of people complain, I can't beat certain teams. there's like two extremes. There's the extreme of I can't beat anyone, help me beat people. But now, okay, you've helped me too much. Now I'm winning too quickly and I'm not getting my feats. So that is something realistically to be wary of. And that's one that just make sure you don't run into that issue. Jedi Training Rey, maybe the Foresight one, the Evasion one, that would work nice with her because her mastery is tied to Evasion, but on, you know, you can do it, it's fine. The Mandalorians I actually really like to use with Deadly Momentum because Bo-Katan, start off with that AoE, and then not only do you get to bypass the protection, assuming you're using Ruthless Swiftness, you gain a whole bunch of turn meter, you're also dazing them. So depending on what team you're going up against, if there's some sort of turn meter aspect or turn meter gain to that team, you get to bypass that because of the daze. Potency Calibration, so she's landing the daze if she doesn't on the first try. I actually really like that with the Mandalorians. So it's, you know, it's not a, you know, don't sleep on the Mandalorians in Conquest. All right, yeah, you're seeing this right. You're not mistaking. You see that Han SWOLO lead. Yeah, Han, like Han's already nice. Like Han already one of like the most important characters of the game in Conquest, can do some amazing things, as I'm sure you're already aware. But Han got swole and decided that he needs to be a leader. And let me tell you why. So Han, and this also works with Wat Tambor. So you could use Wat Tambor in the lead, assuming you have the Zeta, or Han Solo. They both can work pretty well. But here's why. Booming Voice. Whenever the character in the leader slot uses an ability, they call everyone to assist. It doesn't state that that character has to be a leader. They just have to be in the leader slot. Han Solo, we all know. You say it with me. Han, who shot first? Han shot first. Han's gonna go first every time, and you get the call to assist very easily. You could, depending on who you're using, like right here, I just have some of my biggest damage dealing characters. You call to assist, bam, you just wreck. So what I like to do is I actually use this up against the SLKR team in the latest Conquest. I used something very close to this lineup, and I was able to win with this lineup with a Han Solo lead because I actually got 2 booming voices. I know that's not realistic, but I got 2 booming voices calling everyone to assist twice. Super nice. So Han Solo lead, very nice. But also, I want to go off on a tangent and mention my favorite consumable, which is the Initial Frenzy Tech. So the Initial Frenzy Tech is going to work that whenever you start, everyone's going to start off with Frenzy for 2 turns. In that case, Wat Tambor is a must-have in your team. And here's why. Because Han, it's very nice for Han to go first, like in this idea, but that's not a special ability, right? So it's not going to trigger Frenzy. Frenzy only gets triggered whenever you use a special ability. Han, when he shoots first, is restricted to only using his basic. However, you get our boy Wat Tambor in there. If he's got the Zeta, he's going to give out some tech. You give out some tech to someone, that triggers everyone's Frenzy from the Initial Frenzy Tech. Assuming that you're not going up against a First Order team with General Hux, because remember, a full First Order with General Hux, Frenzy is considered bonus turn meter. Hux will shut that down. But you got that Initial Frenzy Tech, you get Wat Tambor in there, y'all get to start taking lots and lots and lots and lots of turns before the other team ever gets a chance. To beat the SLKR team, I actually used Han Solo, Wat Tambor, Supreme Leader Kylo Ren. I don't think I used Malak. I can't remember who I used. It wasn't Malak. Another high damage dealing character, and Commander Luke Skywalker. And what I did, Initial Frenzy Tech, Han Solo lead, Booming Voice, and then I think I already said Initial Frenzy Tech. So what you did, Han Solo shoots first, goes after our boy General Hux, kills off General Hux. Wat Tambor gives some tech to someone, boom, Frenzy activated. You get to take all sorts of turns. It's probably Chewbacca. I probably used Chewbacca instead of Malak for the guard. That's probably what I used. But no, that you know, maybe it's not as clever as I thought. That was one of my favorite theory crafting like exercises I ever did. But that's what I love about Booming Voice, about some of the things about Conquest, is it opens up to some hilarious theory crafting potential. But this Initial Frenzy Tech, Booming Voice, my God, this team, or just anything with Han Solo and Wat Tambor, can just move mountains. So that's what I'm gonna close on, is Han SWOLO in the lead. Guys, that concludes our video. Again, official ranking by a random guy on the internet. If you disagree, I am so glad that you do. Put it in the comments. Tell me that I'm, you know, a crazy person, because I don't care. Hopefully you guys did enjoy this video though, in all seriousness. I am trying to just help everyone. Hopefully we can all get, hopefully we all get that max reward in Conquest. If you did find this video helpful, please drop a like. It does help other people find it, you know, YouTube algorithm and all that stuff. Please drop a comment. Let everyone know what your favorite data discs are. What combinations of data discs do you use? What did you disagree with? And how did you make those data discs work, or what team comps did you use? Please let everyone know down in the comments, guys. Thank you so much. And we will talk to you all guys in a later video or live stream. Have a good one. We'll talk to you later.
Get down to the B side.